right, and we are back on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. It's Jonathon Howe alongside my pal Corby Daniels, the Beef, newly engaged, by the way.
Thank you.
Congratulations, my brother.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you.
I heard you were aiming for an October wedding. Please do not learn from me. Do not get married the week of Super Dirt or Super Dirt Week. That's not a good week to do it, as I found
We'll
out.
we'll make sure she's well away from that.
Yeah, that's a good call. Good call. Obviously we've been off for a few weeks here. Beef, if you went on vacation, I went on vacation. I've been super busy with band stuff. I've been super busy with radio stuff. It's just been a kind of crazy summer, and we're limping back into getting this going again. We got the dirt beer stuff going again, and we're gonna finish out the year strong. Um, Kind of where we left off. We're not going to talk about specific results this week just because there's been so much that we've missed. Um, we're going to look at the point standings for both Ohsweken and for Merrittville, zoom in, kind of track on how some of our preseason predictions are shaping up so far. The other thing that I really want to get into, Beef, is just some of the shake up and the way things have been going over at the track that I call home on Saturday nights, Merrittville Speedway. I got some opinions. I got some things to say about that. So you can put a quarter in me about that later on. But why don't we start with Ohsweken? I know you've been away. I know you've been fishing. I know you got a lot of things, but how much have you been able to watch, and how much have you been able to catch either as a replay on G-Force or live?
I watched a couple times live, just catching some replays too, but I've really been just trying to focus on doing some other stuff other than racing, just keeping my finger on it, on social media and just talking to people about what's going on up there. So, but as far as I can tell, it's pretty much in the 360 is the Dylan Westbrook show.
It really has been, man. I mean, it's 8 features run so far this year. He's only finished outside the top 10 once, right? And he's only not won the race twice. So
Yeah.
it's less. I think when I think about the 360 series right now, it's less about what Westbrook is doing because this is expected. This is what should be happening. This is
Yeah.
what Dylan Westbrook should be doing. This is not a surprise. This is an expectation. And anything less than that would be almost a failure to this team and to probably Dylan himself. That might be a little aggressive to say, and might be a little bit hard to say when you've got the likes of a DJ Christie, a Darren Dryden, Ryan Turner, Glenn Stiers, Mike Bowman, Corey Turner. There's so many great names in that division, but Dylan is the guy that I think should be clearly out in front. But nipping at his heels is Nick Sheridan, a guy who's seen graduate from that crate class, start to build his own 360 program to where it is now. He's got 2 wins on the year, same amount of top fives as Westbrook. Yeah, he's not necessarily out of the championship battle either. He's only 23 points back. So a couple of bad nights for Westbrook and a couple really, really good nights for Nicky could really turn this championship on its head, even when you've got the win differential as Westbrook having 6 wins, Sheridan having 2 wins.
Yeah. Yeah. Nick is, like I've said in previous episodes, on fire right now. The guy puts so much time and effort into his program. It's great to see it paying off, and great to see the 45 up front contending for wins and contending for a championship.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. So, as much as it's the Dylan Westbrook show, there still is a championship battle to be had with only a few weeks left on the season. One thing I want to point out is that it should be a fun one. I think it's this Friday the Great Lakes Super Sprints are
Yep.
at Ohsweken this weekend, so that's going to be a lot of fun for all the sprint car fans to go and check out if you're looking for a reason to get out to Ohsweken on a Friday night. That's a good one. Other sprint car class that runs, a little bit of a different story. More diversity in terms of winners just because they've had more features. Like there's been 14 crate sprint features run thus far this year for the points and for the standings on that side of things. Jesse Costa's got some wins. Brett Stratford's got some wins. Lance Erskine broke through for a win. Steve Murdoch broke through and got a win this season. But everybody is chasing the 5D. Jacob Dykstra's out in front. 6 wins, 12 top fives, 14 top tens in as many feature runs so far. What can you say about this class?
Yeah, crate division has always been treacherous and always been very tight as far as points and guys getting wins and people running up front. Honestly, I thought maybe we'd see Jesse Casa win a couple more races so far this year, but he's
Mhm.
just had some really bad luck throughout the year so far. But it's the crate division is that stepping stone to the 360. So it's good to see these guys, racing hard, racing tight, um, and just putting on a show every week.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's a good point to talk about in terms of the stepping stone aspect to this series is I don't want to say Dykstra's punching down by any means, but that 5D, I think that driver, that program, they could easily be in the 360 division and be competitive. Um, obviously it's not like they're running away with the series. They have a 72
No.
point lead on Costa, but it sure feels like Dykstra, with the amount of experience and all that he's accomplished already in the crate division, probably is a guy who should be in the 360 ranks at this rate. And I think a lot of folks internally on that side of the garage probably would feel the same way on that side of the paddock. They'd want to see that 5D move up and make that call. I don't know if you feel like the Dykstra camp is ready. I mean, they're no strangers to controversy. They've definitely made their share of enemies throughout the season already, let alone just their existence in the sprint car world. But
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, whether or not they're financially able to go 360 racing at the moment, who knows?
mm,
But they have more than enough experience to run 360. For God's sake, they ran World Outlaw races, so with a 410. So, uh, you know, who knows what the 5D does? We'll see what happens. But I still like my pick from the beginning of the year. Lance Erskine broke through for that win. Good to see the 88 just out there doing it, running consistent and racking up some good finishes.
yeah, 6 top 10s on the year. He started all 14 features, has that win. Obviously, I'm sure would like a few more results on the more favorable side of things, but again, there's still lots of time to get some stuff going. And, you know, I do feel like, and maybe you can disagree with me, and maybe this is a broader topic that needs to be explored on the show, but it almost feels like that the shift amongst local racers is less about chasing track titles and more about those big crown jewel events. And with a facility like Ohsweken, where they've now turned not just a Northern Sprint Car Nationals night into a full blown week where they've got a championship, a national championship for Thunderstocks, for the mini stocks, for the crate sprints, for the 360s. It's more about what can you do on those nights when it pays the most as opposed to maybe capturing a track championship.
Yeah, Shrigan does it right, really. Like I would agree that a lot of these guys focus more on winning that race at the end of the year and care more about that than they do about a track championship. I mean, me being a crew guy that's won both of those prestigious events at Ohsweken, it's what you look forward to and what you focus on for most of the year is getting your car dialed in for that week. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting. It's coming up here fast. We're getting close to dropping the green flag on it. So I'm excited. I'm excited this year to be able to go there this year and watch
Yeah.
and not be a crew guy. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna lend a hand to whoever needs it, but just to be there and just be able to watch everything and see how it plays out is gonna be fun.
Yeah, and it's been fun watching over on the Thunderstock side of things at Ohsweken. The Beagle Bailey battle is raging on once again this year. More wins for Bailey, but Beagle is the one who's out front. 12 top 10s and 12 starts, 12 top 5s in 12 starts for the big dog Ryan Beagle. So even though he's not up on the win column compared to Bailey, I mean it is only two races difference, right? I think it's more so impressive that nobody other than Bailey and Beagle has won a race this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's we say it every time. It's the Beagle and Bailey show. Like Ryan and him are just so good, and
Mhm,
they can just run. They can run side by side with each other, not even touch.
mhm.
And it's they put on such great racing, and I'm pulling for my boy Ryan. Ryan and me have become pretty good friends over the last couple of years, getting up at our streaking and running in the iRacing series and doing all that. So
Mhm.
it's good to see Ryan up front and hopefully he can pull it off this year.
Yeah, that'd be nice to see. So, it's been fun watching that battle back and forth. I wish I saw more of the big dog on Saturday nights at Merrittville. I think it would be interesting to see. Now, the racing in the Hoosier Stock class at Merrittville has been its own thing, and we'll touch on that coming up. But ultimately, those two are probably the class of the world in Southern Ontario in terms of that style of race car. It's fun to watch them every Friday night continue to go at it. Quick prop bet for you, or a quick prediction here. If somebody not named Beagle and Bailey are going to win a street stock race, a Thunderstock race at Ohsweken this year before it's all said and done, who's it going to be?
At Ohsweken?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I know I've got my guy for sure. I'm just
Okay,
wondering if you're
I'll
going to
let you
take him.
pick first. I'll let you pick first.
It's probably low hanging fruit since he's riding there right there in third in points, but Trevor DeBoer,
Yeah.
he's got to get through for one, I think, one before the end of the season.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who else has been like contending regularly.
I mean, like I
What?
said, Trevor's got 9 top 5s. He's the one who's right there with them. But there's a couple
Yeah.
guys that are
Who's
interesting
who's
picks.
fourth in points?
So Zach Bleach sits 4th in points,
Okay.
and then Mike Klazinga sits 5th.
Okay. I honestly was thinking Zach. He's been really good, and I mean he's been good at Maribel and Ohsweken.
Mhm.
So I'll take Zach.
Yeah.
108.
It's not a bad pick. It's not
Yeah.
a bad pick at all. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know who else you could grab. I mean, I'm just looking to see if like Jason Fontaine's around. He's been pretty solid at Maryville.
Yeah.
Would he go and try to, he might
I'm
show up for the
sure I'm yeah.
Thunderstock Nationals,
I'm
maybe something
sure
like
that's
that.
gonna be huge.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
right.
there's gonna be a lot of Thunderstocks there.
That is going to be a really fun thing to see how that all plays out. Between the Crate Nationals and the Thunder, or the Mini Stock Nationals and the Thunderstock Nationals. I don't think Zach's a bad pick at all. I think he's
No.
easily a guy that could be competitive there. Obviously, has the incentive being a GSR guy as well, to perform there. That would be kind of nice.
Mhm.
Um, Going from the over to the mini stocks here in the installation mini stocks. Tim DeBoer currently leads the points with no wins on the season, pulling almost a Matt Kenseth, if you will,
Yeah.
up there with very little in the win column. But 12 top tens, just consistency is the play for him. Whereas it's kind of surprising, right? Like Alex Riley's missed a night. He probably would be up there. I mean, he's still 109 points back. So even if you give him a win there, I don't think it's
Yeah.
enough to necessarily like he's not going to be like instantly leading the points.
Yeah.
Jillian Hill is a driver that won the championship last year. She's fallen back a little bit. Jeff Elsliger's still sitting 56 points back. So Tim DeBoer's just kind of consistently top fiving and really top tenning the field to death.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always a tight battle with the mini stocks out of Schwegen, and yeah, I am a little bit surprised about Alex Riley. Like, I figured he would be running a little bit better than what he has been this year, but
Hmm.
maybe he with that, like we just said, with the that big nationals week coming up, maybe we see Alex really turn the wick up and get that prestigious inaugural first mini stock nationals win.
And I mean, Alex has found himself in a bit of drama as well, clashing with the Team Teal, for a lack of a better term, with Kenny Hare and Jeremy Cooper. That's bled over to other nights. That's involved a situation that I'm going to touch on a little bit later on. But, when you end up in those situations and you have a target on your back and you have hard racing that's carrying over night after night. And that's the thing too, is you got guys that are only running one night versus 2 nights. And
Yeah,
I'm pretty confident the Riley gang has 2 cars right now on the go. If they don't, I will definitely be corrected on that. But with the 2 different cars, you never know, like, was the equipment any different? Which car's
yeah,
performing better? Which car's tuned up a little bit better, right? Does one car have something a little bit of a miss? Like, I think just the overall diversity of that series right now has been the most impressive thing, because I'm scrolling through here. Nobody's got more than 2 wins on the season. Um,
no,
Bill, I'm sorry, I always mess up his last name unless I'm listening to the G-Force broadcast. Bill Pearsall, um,
yeah,
he's got 2 wins, right? And Alex has got 2. And then you're talking Jason Tolton's got a win. Wade Thorne's got a win. Kenny Hare's won one. Mason Anderson got a win. Dusty DeBoer's got one. Nick Erskine's got a win. Jillian Hills has got a win. Jeff Elslinger's got a win. it's a diverse series right now on the
Yeah,
mini stock side of things, which makes the nationals that much more interesting because there's not a clear favorite. There's not a
yeah,
guy, there's not a Dylan Westbrook who are like all circling to be the guy to beat
yeah,
right now, which is fun.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting to see that first inaugural race, how it goes. You know, it's always you want to be the first one to win. You know,
Mhm.
it's something you can always say like, "Hey, I was the guy that won the first one
Yeah.
or girl." Sorry.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah,
Let's switch gears to Merrittville Speedway here. Let's quickly run through the point standings here. When we last left off, it was a big, all the talk in the modified world was just the diversity of winners. Um, I'm trying to remember where we were at last podcast. I feel like because I did two without you, where I was talking to some new winners in the
yeah,
sportsman side of things. Um, I want to say that we were maybe at 10, maybe
I think
11 different
so.
feature winners at by that point, and that would make sense because it's been the summer of Gary Lindberg. All of a sudden, he's racked off, I think, 6 wins in a row now. I think it is maybe it's 5, maybe it's 6 in a row.
Yeah,
7 total on the season though. It's been an impressive summer, and this is very reminiscent of 2024. This is what Gary did. Kind of came out of the box a little bit slow, found himself in some incidents, you know, got some good finishes, but not the wins, had to fight the handicapping to get to the front of the field, all that sort of stuff. And it's all clicked into place now where Gary's really come alive. 16 top 10s, 15 top 5s, 7 wins in 18 features. It is the summer of Lindbergh at Merrittville, and he is on fire right now. Up 88 points on Pete Bignell, who is still not yet won. So we could be talking about 12 winners very realistically. He's a guy that easily probably could get to victory lane. Justin Sharp having a great season in third in points. Shane Pierce having a great season in fourth in points. And Nelson Mason sits fifth in points right now at Maryville in the 358s.
yeah. I like you just said, it's the summer of Gary. You know, and I be honest, I'm not surprised that it's happening. Gary is an amazing race car driver. Like he has the skill to be able to do this, and this is what he should be doing.
Hmm.
I feel like it's like that Dylan Westbrook mentality where this is the expectation is that Gary goes out and wins almost every week. It's they got that car on it's a good program, you know, with Andrew Sittler and Gary, and obviously, you know, it's no secret Gary and Matt are brother-in-laws. They're feeding information back and forth all the time
Hmm.
on how to get the cars better. So it definitely is showing that it's paying off right now, and we'll see if Gary can just run away with this championship.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that's where we're at too. And I had somebody actually text into the radio show at Hits FM this week. I'm not going to say which team they were associated with because I don't want to throw them under the bus or anything like that. But they work with another modified guy, and they're like, I don't get it. Like that car's got to be illegal. Like, don't you think? Like, don't you think there's something going on that's a little bit fishy? How is he that much faster than everybody else? And my response was twofold because at the point when that I got that text message, I just had interviewed Gary in Victory Lane. I'd asked him about the hot stretch and how this has happened and peaking at the right time. And Gary had mentioned a couple things right off the hop. He races 2 nights a week, first and foremost. You know, for a lot for a lot of guys, that's an extra night of seat time that everybody else just isn't getting in the field at Merrittville.
Yep.
That like other than Nelson's pretty committed to doing 2 nights a week. Pete was for a long time. He's not doing it anymore. Brad's been hit and miss. Brad Russ has been hit and miss in terms of running an extra night at Ransomville. But beyond that, it really is Gary running Ransomville Friday nights and then running Saturday nights at Merrittville Speedway. The other thing too that I think is that Gary's one of the few drivers in the field where he's driving a car that's owned by somebody else. This is not his piece or a family team or anything like that. He's got not extra help necessarily, and that's not always the case because you see what's going on in the McPherson camp on the Sportsman side, where it is really just Cody and Rick Belante for the most part doing the majority of the work on that race car. There's always exceptions to every rule, but when you are a driver first and you don't have to worry about the ownership side. You don't have to worry about as many other things that go into running a race team on a week to week basis. You get to maybe spend the extra time on, working on your own craft, studying film, exchanging notes with a guy like Matt Williamson, who's your brother-in-law, that you have that in your corner, right? So as much as like, yes, you can point to the fact that there's clearly a difference and there's clearly pace that is unmatched right now at Merrittville in that Lindberg program. It's not simply that, oh, the car is cheated up and that's why he's doping tires. That's why. Like, it's not, there's a lot of other factors in that. And I'm not sitting here saying that, like, you know, there's guys that are running with everything standard and perfectly legal and nothing's in the gray area either. I'm not saying you're saying that. But when it's, if you are going to first immediately say that the car is illegal and that's the difference, then you're really discounting Gary as a driver and you're discrediting that entire operation when you think about their program compared to what a guy like Shane Pierce is running, what a guy like Justin Sharp is running, even a Nelson Mason, right? Like there's so many other guys that just don't have the manpower, they don't have the seat time. There's a lot of other things that make Gary as dominant and as good as he is in a 358 and especially at
Yeah.
Merrittville on any given Saturday night. So I get that everybody wants to know, and there's got to be a reason, but it's a lot simpler than that. Something else that Gary also pointed out in a recent Victory Lane interview too is that over the last few weeks, because he's been winning and because of the way the handicapping has worked and the way that some of the cautions have fallen and all that stuff, he's kept his nose clean for the most part. So when you're not spending the majority of your time on a week, you know this beef as a crew guy. When you're not having to do repairs each and every week,
Yeah.
you get that much more time to pay attention to setup, to try new things, to think about the race car, and that opportunity, that time where you're not repairing, you're not playing catch up, really allows you to take that step ahead of your competition.
Yeah, for sure. Like any it's always the excuse, when a guy is out winning all the time is, oh, he's got to be cheating. There's something going on. And most of the time, not 100% of the time, but most of the time it really just comes down to that person having the time behind the wheel, the team being prepared, always making sure that there's no failures, no mess ups, no nothing. And like we've always said, racing, you got to have luck. There is a lot of luck that goes into things as well, like
Hmm.
certain things happening on track. So, for everybody to be up in arms that something's going on, with Gary or with Cody or whatever. I mean, like at the end of the day, if you really want to know, put your money where your mouth is and have the car torn down or the motor torn down or whatever. Or, just if you're a race car driver and you're the one complaining about it, get in your own shop and get your own program better to be able to get your car up front and contend for wins.
The footage is there too. Like you can go and watch that drone footage, and there are very few guys in the modified ranks, if any, who can drive the car like Lindberg, who has even accredited to the fact that his line for most of the time that he's talked about this year, where he's had success, he's just mimicking and mirroring what Matt Williamson did for so many years at Merrittville.
Yeah.
So, like, I get that it's not like NASCAR where they've got the exact telemetry where you can track throttle mapping and steering mapping and all that sort of stuff. The footage is there. If you can drive that line, you'll be fast. And if you can drive that line and make your car perform on that line, you probably can turn pretty similar lap times to
Yeah.
Gary. But you got to you got to have that extra time to put that work in, and it's just hard to do, right? So
Some people don't want to do it.
yeah, right.
They're like, I don't know how many times I've seen people unload race cars not washed, not gone over. They're doing it at the racetrack.
Hmm.
That's not going to get you wins. That's going
No.
to get you a participation ribbon.
Hmm. And for some guys, that's more than enough. But if that's more than enough for you, you also have to park your mouth at the door. You better park it at the gate. You don't get to be the one throwing accusations around or anything like that. It's yeah, it's interesting to see. Now, um, I also have to point out that I was off this weekend. It was an unscheduled off night from Merrittville Speedway as I took a bit of a tumble just about an hour before I was set to leave for the racetrack, and it was a pretty nasty spill and landed me in the hospital for the night and had to go get checked out. I'm a-okay now. I'm feeling better. Thanks to everybody who's reached out. I've had some good messages, all that sort of stuff. Like, where were you? What's going on? I'm doing all right. I'll be back at it next Saturday. Everything's going to be all right. but it was a bit of a last minute thing. So shout out to my co-host William Morrison for holding it down under circumstances. I think my wife said she got a call from like Dawn at like 6:45, panicking, and it's like, Jonathan's never late. What's going on? And I think by that point we had already like texted Lorraine, so there's like a bit of a miscommunication where for
Uh,
people looking for me. So it all worked out in the end, though. I think they had a good night, and yeah, it was a night that saw some chaos for sure. And we saw a new winner, which is kind of not necessarily shaking up the point standings, but at least in the sportsman class has put an extra win in somebody's column, which is nice. And that driver was Matteo Panunte, who bested Cody McPherson. And then there was a whole jam up of chaos at the stripe, which I haven't gone back to watch the video yet. So I don't know if we'll do a full video breakdown on anything like that. Um, but the sportsman race, from all accounts, was pretty chaotic on Saturday night. I don't know. Did you watch it, Beef?
I haven't watched it, but I did hear it was pretty wild out there. But congrats to Mateo on beating the 7 car and getting that checkered flag. But Mateo's been fast the last couple of seasons, so it's not a surprise that you see him in victory lane.
Hmm.
But anybody that can beat the 7 car right now is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and it's not his first win either. We saw him get it done in the Mallory car, but it is his first win in his own ride. So that's a pretty cool thing for the Port Colborne driver, for Matteo Panunte, to pick up that win. He sits fourth in points. McPherson's way out in front. He's got a 134-point lead on Jacob Chevalier, who's having a great season. The driver I've dubbed
Former
Heavy
crew
Chevy Light.
guy,
Yeah, exactly,
former
right?
crew guy of the 7 car.
Exactly. So he knows why the program is so good, and it's probably a big reason why Jacobs had the consistency he's had this season. 14 top tens and 15 starts on the years, nothing too shabby for, I believe, a second year driver, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken, right? So
yeah.
definitely second full season for Jacob Chevalier. Noah Mamo sits third in points. Mateo, like I say, sits fourth. Matt Sharp rounds out your top five. I did talk to Taylor Vander Zandt a couple weeks ago after his first win. Dan McKay also got his first win in the sportsman division as well this season. Those are the only three guys who have beaten Cody McPherson all season long, and that's why Cody is out in front the way he is.
hmm Yeah, 7 car. It's the same old story and dance, but see if anybody else can bring the fight to him and maybe crack up a win as well. But I would say the 7 car pretty much has it wrapped up.
Yeah, yeah. So, over on the Hoosier stock side of things, the championship's not as close as it probably could be. Dave Bailey keeps racking off the wins, 10 wins on the year. Kyle Pellrine's got 3 now. Fontaine's got 3. Rob Murray's got to victory lane at Merrittville. But Bailey leads by 62 points on Kyle Pellrine with just a couple of weeks ago. Mark Fawcett sits third points. Jason Fontaine, Zach Bleach rounds out your top 5. As they run, I mean, there's not much to say other than Bailey is just Dave Bailey, but it has been really fun to see regularly 4, 5, 6 car packs at the front of the field that Bailey either has to go through or race with. It's not like he's getting out in front and waxing the field by like 8 seconds.
Yeah,
The finishes are closer than it would seem for a guy that's got 10 wins on the division.
yeah,
I really think the Hoosier Stocks have been a blast this season. I know the car count's down a little bit, but that's also translated to some cleaner racing on more nights than not. So I've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed that series a lot of fun over on the Rona Deutsch Mod Light side of things as well. Tyler Winger out in front right now. He's got 5 wins on the season. Josh Leiter's got 5 wins, but lacking on the top 10 side of things. That's got him 79 points back in third. Sean F. Toddy, Cheeseburger, just keeps plugging away.
yeah,
16 top 10s in 16 features. The guy has not finished worse than 10th all season. That's great.
yeah, yeah. Cheeseburger's doing his thing. It's good to see him run with some consistency and be able to get up there in the championship standings. He's due. I mean, I feel like the 27 is going to be in victory lane at some point here, but we'll see when the time comes.
Yeah, and some of the younger guys are coming on in that series now too, right? You know, Anthony Kelly picked up his win, his first win a couple weeks back. Cohen Corbett got to victory lane now as well. That 32 rides really started to turn it on and turn around over the summer months here. The mod lights are a very interesting class, and it's Obviously, Savage Chassis, Slider Gang, pretty heavy right now, and anybody who's going against those guys, you're gonna ruffle some feathers. And Cohen Corbett's definitely ruffled some feathers this year. A lot of the guys not happy when Joe Isabel shows up at the racetrack and he
Yeah.
brings his fast piece of equipment to race against them. But the Savage Race Chassis guys, they're having a lot of fun so far. But Tyler Winger seems to be kind of that guy who's independent of all of that and really running that family operation well. And it's great to see. I like Tyler. He's always super nice and super appreciative of every opportunity he gets to win a race. So perfect guy to be leading that series right now with only a few weeks left. Speaking of leading, Alex Riley, 72 points up on Kenny Hare for the track championship. Those two guys have been going back and forth. I didn't see how things played out this week. Again, I've kind of been AFK for a couple of days here while I kind of rest up from all things that happened on Saturday. But in terms of that battle and that championship, that rivalry between Team Teal and the Riley bunch, it's been pretty entertaining. It's been a little bit concerning at times. Jeremy Cooper did his best to basically hunt down Alex Riley on a night and have the sole mission of wrecking the 17 car, even when he was warned about being watched and all that sort of stuff. That could have got real ugly. Kenny Hare wins a race a couple weeks ago and has Alex Riley #1 fan on his T-shirt, which I don't think the Riley camp found all that funny. I don't know. There's a bit of a pro wrestling element that's starting to take over this rivalry, for a lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Riley team has definitely put themselves with the target on their back, but they're showing up, they're being consistent, and they're winning, and they're leading the championship. And it's going to take a lot now for Riley to cough that title back up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a little bit of poking fun here and there is okay, but if it gets to the point where people are hunting people down on the racetrack, we've talked about it on the Dirt Beers podcast, these series and tracks having down some pretty hefty suspensions and fines on people. So, I mean, I don't see why that wouldn't be put in at the local level as well, especially if it was deliberate or something like that. So, hopefully cooler heads prevail and just see some clean racing.
I'm just gonna round out the top 5 of the standings here, but you've put the quarter in me. You said some things there. I'm wound up. Let's just get to it here. So Kenny Hare sits second in the points. Mason Anderson is third. Randall Rothwell rides fourth. Syracuse having a great season, 3 wins, and that bug sits fifth in the points. That's the points in the mini stocks. We're through the points at Ohsweken. We're through the points at Merrittville. Now, Beef. When I tell you that the behavior of some of the drivers has me at my wit's end. And again, I have not caught up on the drama that has gone down in the last week or so. I've heard rumblings. I've heard things I need to go back and watch. I'm sorry. I just have not been allowed to look at screens for the last couple of days. I have not had a chance to catch up on things on YouTube and all that sort of stuff. I'll get there. I probably could have done it before this podcast, but it just didn't work out that way. But based on the things that I've seen with my own eyes and been at the right racetrack to experience, the inmates are running the asylum and it's got to stop somewhere. So I don't know what needs to be said, but I'm going to call it out. And a lot of you guys are acting like jackasses and you got to stop. You got to stop. You're racing in the equivalent of senior A whale shit hockey. That's what it is. You are in the no-show league. For anybody who watches Shoresy, that's the level of racing you're at. There are very few guys who could come out from Merrittville Speedway on a Saturday night in any given division, race anywhere in North America, and make any kind of dent and impact. And those drivers know who they are, and they're very rarely in any sort of drama. They just aren't. They just aren't. They're the ones who win, they show up, they shut up, they do their thing, they move on. The rest of you, this is the problem. I call it whale shit hockey. Senior A whale shit hockey. People don't spend $40,000 a year to play senior A whale shit hockey. People don't spend $30,000 to do it. They don't spend $5,000 to play that level of hockey or that level of softball or that level of whatever else. So I understand that when you've got that much skin in the game and somebody junks your shit, or not even junks your shit, drives like a jackass, a little bit, or just doesn't run you the way that you think you should be run. Because that's the other thing too, is that a lot of these incidents have been so minor and so
Mhm.
dumb and been so dumb. And for people to be getting out of their race cars and physically getting into altercations in the pits. There's one incident that happened. It's very clear what I'm talking about and who I'm talking about. I don't need to name names. I don't need to drag them through the mud like that. They know who they are. Most people listening to this podcast are not going to know who they are. But there was a reason that I was playing the circus music when we had a whole night that had to be red flagged, shut down for multiple minutes because you guys want to have a brawl in the pits that requires our medical staff to put themselves in danger in terms of breaking up a fight. You know, they put a lot on the line in terms of being the medical crew to assist drivers, fans, safety crew, teams, keep them all safe in the event of accidents, fires, all that sort of stuff. The last thing they need to be dealing with are two people, more than two people, who are, you know, not going to do anything in terms of racing careers of any kind of note at this point. They're going out at the end of the day. What it should be about is going to have fun and going to compete and going to have fun. Maybe advancing on to something like Super Dirt Week. Maybe you can win a track title. Maybe you can do all these things that are great notches. But at the end of the day, your banner's going to hang at Merrittville, and that's about it. People in Florida, people in North Carolina, people in whatever, they're not going to know your name. They're not going to know about you. So why are you getting out of your race car and having a fist fight about it? Having a talk. You want to have a man conversation one-on-one, fine. Don't interrupt a racing night to do that. Do not be, having to involve our safety crews, our track crews, all that sort of shit. So you can have a conversation about the fact that you got spun out a couple times, or you somehow keep finding each other and getting together on the racetrack, all that sort of shit. It's just nonsense. And it's not that important, and it's not that big of a deal. It's not. I'm sorry. It's not that big of a deal. It's not worth getting that angry about. And if you really feel like you need to have that man conversation and it's got to turn into a fist altercation, whatever, then you and the other guy drive your cars to the front stretch, park them in front. We'll set up an octagon. You settle it one-on-one in front of the crowd who actually paid to be there to watch racing, not try to squint their eyes and wonder why 80,000 people are all rushing towards one area in the pits. And then we have to delay in an evening for 18 minutes. And then, because of the names that are on the sides of these race cars sometimes, they have the gall to go after the decision makers, the people who are trying to facilitate and organize, and at the end of the day, wrangle and control your actions on any given Saturday night. You have the gall to go and make it personal and make it a personal issue. You acted like a jackass. There's nothing that anybody, regardless of their last name, their experience at Merrittville, their lack of experience at Merrittville, anything like that, that would make them think otherwise. That they would think that you should be anything less than suspended. We talked about those late model guys, and it did not get as crazy as it did in that late model situation where those guys ended up getting kicked out for a year and 6 months and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. It did not get that crazy, and I'm thankful it didn't, and I'm proud that it didn't either. You know, I'm not sitting here saying we need to be patting people on the back for not using their cars as weapons fully and completely. But it is great that we don't have that problem and it didn't play out that way. But I just think that everybody needs to check themselves a little bit more and realize what's at stake, what you're driving for. And again, it sucks that you're paying the bills that you're paying. It really does. And we as a racetrack, we as race fans, we as an organization, we as a podcast, we all have an appreciation for what you guys are putting in terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of effort. We understand it. But that still does not give you the reason to hijack a show, make it about yourselves because you guys had a couple of little dust ups on the track. And this goes across multiple divisions, multiple incidents. Yes, there is one specific division that or one specific incident that has me as hot as I am about the whole situation. But, you know, we saw the posts that Merrittville is looking for a race director. And you can say what you want from the driver's side of things. And, I've never sat behind the race car and had a race director talking in my ear. So what do I know? I'm talking at the same time as they're talking. But for the most part, the way the booth is set up, I can hear every single call. I can see why things are officiated the way they are. And let me just tell you that if I was the race director, y'all would. Suspensions would be one thing. Parking at the racetrack, all that sort of stuff, it would have been a lot crueler if I was in charge. And I think there's other people who have been in charge at that racetrack in the past who, if they had to deal with the shit that has been dealt with this year, would have been a lot crueler, a lot harder, a lot more punishment on particular individuals and certain incidents. But it's gotten to the point now where we've ran away a person who is willing and committed to do a job that is essential to do at the racetrack. And that person is not allowed to do that, or not willing to do that job anymore, because drivers made it personal. Team members, sponsors, whoever it was, made it personal and went after the race directors and this officiating on a personal level. You just got to check yourself. It's not that serious. It's not that important. Nobody's got vendettas against anybody. Because if it was me, I just wouldn't be tolerating that shit. You guys are given the opportunity to embrace your passion, have fun, and do a lot of things that are really great. And there are a lot of people who financially benefit from the fact that you're willing to make that investment time-wise and financially. I understand that. I am also one of them who benefits from that. I'm the first one to say that. But you are hijacking a show. The only reason that this exists is to entertain people on the other side of the fence. And you're going to take time and you're going to hijack that show to have a clown show in the pits because you guys run out of talent, for lack of a better term. That's what it was. Most of the situations that have happened this year are just skill issues. They're skill issues. You guys aren't skilled enough to be running into each other the way they are, and you end up in these incidents, and it happens. So I don't know how I did there for a rant beef, but
Do you want to put another quarter in?
Go for it. Go for it. I could have another run. I could rest and round up here for round two.
I think back, part of what you're saying there. I think back to during December, where the promoter the first year was like, you got a problem, you take it to the front stretch. You guys, or no, Chili Bowl. Sorry, you got a problem, take it to the front stretch and fight in front of the fans because they paid to be here. So yeah, it's I, as an outsider now and not going there weekly, I hear all kinds of stuff. I don't know enough to give an opinion on what happened or whatever is going on up at that place, but I'll tell you for free, all I hear is that Merrittville Speedway is a shit show at the moment. So whatever's got to be done to get things back on track needs to get done, and we'll see what happens, I guess.
It's hard because you have to make an example out of somebody, and we're living a world with weekly racing and local short track racing where if you go the mile to make an example of somebody, chances are that car's probably just not going to come back. That team's going to fold. Like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And then from an ownership standpoint and a promotion standpoint, you suffer because you lose that car and the car counts go down. And the car counts are important for two reasons. A, it looks good. You want to have as many race cars on the racetrack as you possibly can for any given division. But two, every car that comes through the gate, there's money that the driver is paying to be there, and any crew members, family members, anything that's going on, there's money that comes through that gate. So you take a financial risk when you punish people, when you make an example of people. And I understand that. And I understand that there's friendships involved. I understand all that sort of stuff. But when we start chasing away the people who are key positions in executing any given night, that's a problem. That's a problem. But all I know is that we have a big blow up, and a person who was doing, in my opinion, a fairly decent job under the hardest position in motorsports at any given facility feels the need that they need to leave because they're done with dealing with the shit because people are crossing lines and making things personal. That's a problem. And that's a problem that needs to be, I don't know if it needs to be punished. I don't know what it is, but like, how do we expect anybody to be better? And it's a conversation I had with Fran Broussard, our Statman Fran, today. And he said it. Everybody thinks that they can do a good job when it comes to race directing and officiating and doing all this stuff. And everybody thinks that they can see everything. I'm the announcer. It is literally my job to tell you everything that is happening at any given time on the racetrack. I am more of a spotter than a race director is, because I have to communicate that to the people. And I still miss things left, right, and center on any given lap. It's not possible. And it's hard. So I just think that the drivers need to check themselves and realize that when they act the way that they're acting and they're getting in these personal beefs and they're doing all the shit that they're doing, you're just dooming yourself and you're dooming the long-term success of the racetrack and the facility and the ownership and everything else. Because guess what? We can't go racing if nobody's going to race direct. So if you're not going to treat that person with respect, it's the same as parents yelling at their officials in youth sports.
Yeah.
You're going to yell at a 14-year-old because he called a ball instead of a strike in a minor league softball game or a minor league hardball game or whatever. Why?
Yeah.
Who cares? It's not the majors. And even when it is the majors, guess what happens? They yell and scream at each other. Yeah, they've got a pitch review. That's great. That's Major League Baseball. We're not Major League Baseball. We are, if NASCAR is here and they barely get it right half the time, how is a dirt racing series that is down here supposed to have any better consistency in the moment? Like the expectations are ridiculous and everybody feels entitled. Everybody feels like they're right. Everybody feels like all this sort of shit. And I get it. I understand it. And I would too, if I was paying 40 grand for cars, 50 grand for cars, and I was paying 20 grand for motors, and I was doing whatever the hell else I'm doing throughout the season to make sure that I'm at a racetrack each and every Saturday night. I understand that. But at a certain point, you got to check yourself, because you're just damaging the product. You're damaging the ability to put on shows, and we're damaging the ability to actually have anybody show up. So, and work for the track and work in jobs that are difficult that nobody really wants to do. So, because I know who's probably realistically the next options up to be race directors. I know some of them. I don't know if they're going to be the ones that are going to get it. I know who I would pick right now. I have faith in somebody. I don't know if this person's going to step up. I don't know if they'd even be recognized for this role. But I just think that nobody is going to keep doing this shit if the drivers don't get their heads out of their asses. And that's just where I'm at. And it's sucks that I've spent 20 minutes ranting about this. I want to be talking about good racing. Well, it's just been so ridiculous. Like, again, like I played clown music because you guys are a clown show. It's a clown show. It's a joke. And people are laughing like, oh, that's funny. That's funny that you did that. That's clever that you did that, all that sort of stuff. And I got that. And I appreciate it. That's part of the reason that I did it. But it also isn't to embarrass the people involved. Because at the end of the day, like, this just is ridiculous. You guys lack talent. You make mistakes. It sucks. Stuff gets spent. Race nights get ruined. Whatever. It ain't the Daytona 500. It ain't Super Dirt Week. It ain't Knoxville. It's Merrittville on a Saturday night. And it's important to some of us, and it is everything to some of us. But just because something is everything to you does not mean that you get to go and act like a clown and hijack a night and chase away people out of great positions and positions that are hard to find people to make stick. Because I also know that people who have run the racetrack and done that job in the past were calling for heavier penalties and harsher penalties than what was dished out. So everybody involved in some of the incidents that have happened all season long this year should be counting their stars that they had somebody who was understanding and had sat in your position and been involved in incidents like you had gone through. I just think it's ridiculous. But now, and it's a storyline that's kind of taken away from the rest of the season, and it just sucks, and it's going to be all anybody's talking about online. There's so much discourse online, the comment sections on the job postings and all that sort of stuff. There's a whole bunch of keyboard warriors that think they know how to do things, but they have no idea what it's like when you get up in that tower and you're faced with some of the situations that have been faced with. And I just think it's on the drivers at a certain point to come together and work on this stuff together as a driver group and accept that they need to be officiated. And when that officiating comes down, you just have to accept it as it is. And if God forbid they get it wrong, we got Joe Obertein's drone footage. We'll try and review it and we'll try to get it right the next week. There's only so much you can do to get things right in a week. And I understand all that. And I understand that's not good enough. But unless you guys are all going to up your entrance fees by 2 times, 3 times, 4 times so that we can have the video equipment to be doing instant replays, and you guys are okay with extending your nights an extra half an hour because every single thing is going to be asked to be reviewed, because that's where we're going to head. Like, I just think it's ridiculous. So anyways, I got to get off my rant here, Beef, before I get any further down the line here. I'm sure there's going to be people pissed off at me. I'm sure there's going to be people who are DMing me on Instagram or DMing me on Messenger. Maybe they're going to grab me by the collar next Saturday and they're going to run their mouth and say stuff to me and whatever. But I'm not moving off of anything I've said tonight because I don't think anything I've said is out of line. And if anybody wants to have a man conversation with me about something, you can feel free to do it in person or at Jonathon on air anytime at SODS_pod. That's where you find the podcast. Southern Ontario Dirt Show Podcast at gmail.com. There's an email for you there. Beef, did I miss anything before we get out of here?
I don't think so, Jonathan.
All right. I think that's about it. I think that's my feelings. I think I've made myself heard. So we'll see if anybody actually hears it, and if anybody agrees, you can let me know too, because that would be nice to feel like I'm backed up. But if I'm way out in left field, you got to tell me. Somebody's got to tell me if I'm wrong. But so far, anybody I've expressed this particular opinion to seems to be right there with me. So we'll see what happens going forward. But that's that on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. We played catch up tonight. We played catch up over on the Dirt Beers show. Make sure you tune in to that one over on the Dirt Beers YouTube page, or listening on Spotify, anywhere else you get your podcast. Dirt Beers is there. Beef, we're going to work on maybe getting some guests going back forward in the Dirt Beers show. But anybody who's looking to talk about the craziness of sprint car racing south of the border, we covered a lot of that on that show. Donnie shots. Injury news with the big guys in High Limit, shakeups at KKR, shakeups at other teams, Vermeer, all that sort of stuff. We covered that on Dirt Beers Beef. And let's just see how the weekend goes, man. Let's just see how the weekend goes.
See what we're talking about next week.
Absolutely. That'll do it for the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. Talk to you later.